Money talks, but it can't sing and dance and it can't walk. As long as I can have you here with me, I'd much rather be forever in blue jeans. Honey's sweet, but it ain't nothing next to baby's treat. And if you'll pardon me, I'd like to say we'll do okay forever in blue jeans. Maybe tonight by the fire, all alone, you and I. Nothing around but the sound of my heart and your sigh. Honey, sweet, but it ain't nothing next to baby's treat. And if you'll pardon me, I'd like to say we'll do okay forever in blue jeans. Money talks, but it can't sing and dance and it can't walk. And if you'll pardon me, I'd like to say we'll do okay forever in blue jeans, babe. Well, there we go. It's one of my favorite Neil Diamond songs, and it sings of sort of a simpler time when everything doesn't revolve around money and material things. When that song was written, you could buy a pair of Levi's blue jeans for about $8, and they weren't the garment of the fashion industry at the time. They were the garment of the middle class and children and cowboys and that sort of thing. So the song is all about keeping it simple and not getting hung up on money, etc. And today we're going to make some very simple pumpkin spice muffins. So last Tuesday I put up the ingredients, so if you wanted to have those out and follow along, you can certainly do so. I'm going to also talk about some substitutes that you can make. So I keep a pencil and paper handy just in case. So what are we going to start with? Well, we're going to start with 1.5 cups of flour. Now you can use white flour, whole wheat flour, or I'm using multigrain flour. And any of those will work just fine, but of course it will change up the texture of your muffins. So if you want to try them with all three different times, you can sort of change up the texture of your muffins. Then we're going to want 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's baking powder. I don't know why it always wants to stick in the bowl, but there we go. Now in case you didn't get that right, you want 1 teaspoon baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. This is the pucker powder. And like Levoris, sing the chorus for Levoris pucker power. Well, in this case it's sing the chorus for baking soda pucker power. But there we go, a teaspoon of baking soda. And then we're going to want 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And I guess in one of my recipes quite a while back, I misspelled the word cinnamon. One of my viewers thought that was quite humorous. So anyway, no matter how you spell it, you want ground cinnamon. 1 teaspoon. Alrighty, that takes care of our 1 teaspoons. And now we're going to move on to 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I ran out of a little bowl, so I'm using a spoon holder here, shaped like a teapot. But it does the job. Kind of cute, huh? There we go. Maybe when we're done, we'll make a cup of tea and have a hot muffin and a cup of tea. Alright, now we want 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. That's 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. Cloves are pretty strong, so you don't need a whole lot to do the job. Oh, I love the smell of cloves. Cloves and orange. And then we want 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Alright, and we're going to take our whisk and we are going to blend them all together because that's all of our dry ingredients. Fairly simple, like I said. So
I find a whisk works really well for blending dry ingredients together. I prefer a fork for wet ingredients, even though I know the whisk was originally designed for whipping eggs and that sort of thing. I'm a bit odd, as you probably figured out. So once we get those well blended together, you want to make sure you do get them well blended. Nobody wants to be biting into a muffin and get a clump of cloves. It kind of ruins the whole effect. There we go. Now we can set that aside for a moment, and we're going to do our wet ingredients. There's only 3 wet ingredients. The first one is an egg. I think either I'm getting bigger or eggs are getting smaller, because I used to use regular eggs, but now I find I tend to use extra large. And to me, they don't seem any bigger than the regular eggs used to. You're going to want a half cup of canola oil, or a vegetable oil. Like a sunflower oil would work. I don't know if I'd use olive oil, but a half cup of vegetable oil. I just happen to be using canola oil. If you're in Europe, you might be looking for rapeseed oil. And then this ingredient, it's not that important. It's just the pumpkin. You want 1 3/4 cups of pureed pumpkin. Now you can use your own, or you can use store-bought. Just be careful. If you're buying at the store, make sure you get just straight pumpkin and not pumpkin pie filling. Because if you get pumpkin pie filling, your muffins / cupcakes are going to be very, very spicy, since the pumpkin pie filling already has spices in it. I guess if you want to skip doing all the spices for this, you could probably just buy the pie filling and then not put anything else in it other than the baking powder and baking soda. But I like doing this from scratch. Get all that good pumpkin. You don't want to waste any. Alright, and then we're going to take a fork and we're going to whip those. Now, I did something wrong here, and I'm willing to admit it. I should have beaten the egg first, and I forgot. So, if you are ahead of things and read the ingredients list last week, you will see that it says 1 egg beaten. And I guess this egg is going to get beaten, but it's just going to take a longer because I goofed. Now this is probably the hardest part of the whole recipe, because trying to get the oil to blend in with the egg and the pumpkin is a bit of a challenge. And you might want to, if you're not me, you might want to use a bigger bowl. If you are me, you might have wanted to have used a bigger bowl. But it is what it is, so we'll go with what we got. And we just want to get that all nicely blended together. Once it starts to mix, it's not too bad. I just kind of work from the outside edge in, that way I'm moving the ingredients into the middle. There we go. Alright, once you've got that all nicely blended, I put out 2 forks here, but I really only need 1. Let's grab my spoon holder. Move that out of the way. I'll set this here for now. Oh, I'll move that to the side for a second. Bring back our dry ingredients. And now we're simply going to add our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients. Are you with me so far? Have I lost you? If I lost you, it's probably because you got distracted by something else, right? The handsome guy walking past the window, or the beautiful girl walking past the window. Whatever it might have been, it was probably more important than pumpkin spice muffins at the moment. There we are. We're going to keep our spatula around because we might need that. And now it's just a matter of working the dry and wet ingredients together. Now you don't want to overwork these together. You just want to get the dry ingredients worked in and wet. You don't want to go overboard and turn it into a liquid. So in other words, don't puree it. Just blend them together nicely. doesn't take very long to do. Once you can't see any dry ingredients anymore, you're where you need to be. So if you can still see a spot of dry ingredients, well, let's stir it a bit more. But I'd say we're there. It's done. See, very simple.
Money talks, but it can't sing and dance, and it can't walk. As long as I can have you here with me, I'd much rather be forever in blue jeans.
There we have it. Now, the next thing you're going to need, which I should have been ahead of myself on, and I'm not, is a muffin tin. And now there's several ways you can go with this. This should make about 12 muffins. You can use muffin papers. Or you can grease the tin. But I like to use these. These are they're muffin papers, but they're made of parchment paper. So you know, usually when you have a cupcake or a muffin and you peel a paper wrapper off, half your muffin or cupcake sticks to the wrapper. That doesn't happen with these. They peel off cleanly and you have your whole muffin or your whole cupcake. So I really like these parchment papers. And if I remember rightly, the cost is about the same as the paper ones. Very nice little papers. So we'll just put one of those in each little cup. But now I'm not sponsored by the parchment people. I just happen to like their product. If they'd like to sponsor me, I wouldn't say no, but I don't know in truth. These are made by Paper Chef. These ones are Paper Chef parchment baking cups, large. And once you've done that, then you're going to want a spoon. And the rest is a matter of carefully spooning the mixture into your muffin tins. And you want to not quite fill them. So I'd say probably about 7/8 full. And the other thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, but I will put it in the text at the beginning, is you want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see, if I'd been on the ball, I should have made these yesterday, and then my wife could have taken them with her today to cards. But to be honest with you, I had not too good a day yesterday. I was having an allergic reaction to something, and my face felt like it was sunburned, and I just did not feel good all over. My joints ached, and my stomach was grumbly, and just wasn't in the best mood for baking. Fortunately, whatever it was that got me has passed by today, although my face is still a little red. And just, that was funny, before I started doing this, I had a 3 o'clock appointment booked to have my hair cut today, and I called to confirm and was told that the hairdresser that does my hair is gone for a year on maternity leave. I didn't even know she was expecting, so that was a bit of a shock. So I canceled my appointment and have to decide what to do. Should I go for a year without getting my hair cut until she comes back? What do you think? I'm going to take a page from George Carlin and call myself Hippy Dippy. How many of you are old enough to remember George Carlin doing his Hippy Dippy Weatherman routine? It's a hippy-dippy weather, man, with the hippy-dippy weather. It's chilly today and hot tamale. There we go. Should put just enough in here to get one more muffin. This is where your spatula comes back in handy, so you don't want to put your spatula away too soon. I talk a lot, don't I? Jabber, jabber, jabber. Did you have anything you wanted to say? I haven't let you have a chance to say anything. Is there something you'd like to tell me? Oh, you're going to put it in the comments down below. Okay, well, I'll be sure to read the comments. Thank you. Here we go. And unlike cookie recipes, this does tend to make exactly the amount it promises, which is 12 muffins. Alrighty. So, the next step, now we have that done, is of course to bake them. Like I say, you want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are going to bake them for about 20 minutes. 18 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven. If you're not sure, do them for 18. Check them with a cake probe and see if they need the extra couple of minutes. Well, let's put them in the oven. And set the timer for 20 minutes. All right, we'll be back in 20 minutes to pull these out. And maybe we'll have a cup of coffee and a nice hot muffin together. Until then, if you're following along with me, it's going to take you 20 minutes as well. For those of you who aren't baking along with me, well, it'll be a snap and you'll be back. Alrighty. And we're down to about a minute and a half left on our muffins. And they're rising nicely and looking good. So we'll have them out in just a minute. And, well, I don't ice my muffins or frost them, depending on where you live in the world as to what you call it. But I will, at the end of this video, put a recipe for cream cheese frosting. If you want to put a frosting on them, you're more than welcome to do so. I just find that a little bit too much myself. I have a half a sweet tooth. I don't have a full sweet tooth. So I like a little bit of sweet, but not overdone. So when I eat chocolate, I like the dark semi-sweet chocolate. My wife, she prefers the milk chocolate. Like, fortunately, there are a few companies that make a no sugar added or artificially sweetened milk chocolate, so she is able to indulge her chocolate addiction on occasion. But anyway, like I say, the icing is probably delicious, and if you like that sort of thing, feel free to top these with an icing or frosting, depending on where you live, and I'll include that recipe. Anyway, let's see how our muffins turn out, shall we? Oh yeah, looking good. Look at those. Don't those look yummy? Oh yeah. Got that nice little orange color to them. Now let's pop them out of the pan here so they can cool. Put them on the rack. Whoop. Put on your asbestos fingers to do this, so you don't burn yourself. Or maybe it's modern times, I guess it's silicone fingers. So you can see with the parchment papers, I'll just show you on this one here. It's already pulling away from the. See that? How easy that comes. Oops! How easy that comes apart. No sticking to the paper, so you don't lose half your muffin to the paper. And there we have it, a lovely afternoon snack to have with tea or coffee or something. Now I find the secret to baking things like this is to let them cool slowly. That way they don't dry out. So what I always do, I always joke that the secret to good baking is a red plaid towel. But it's not really, it's just a good clean tea towel. Cover your baking, and that'll help it to cool more slowly and keep more moisture in the baking. I do that when I bake bread or pretty much anything, unless it's something sticky, of course. But just cover your baking with put it on a rack and cover it with a tea towel, a clean tea towel preferably, and let it cool slowly. But that's our recipe for today, pumpkin spice muffins. As I said, I'll include a recipe for the icing/frosting at the end of the video, so if you want to add that extra little bit on there, you can. And I will see you on Friday when we have our shout-outs, our story, and our groaner of the week. Until then, my friends, take care, stay safe, and God bless you.